Hello and welcome everybody to Game 3 of Zenio vs NaNiwa from IEM Kiev. This is going to be a best of 5 played in the quarterfinals at IEM Kiev. Spawning here in the bottom left position as the red Zerg playing from Team Liquid, we have Zenio. Spawning in the bottom right position as the blue Protoss playing from Team Quantic Gaming, we have NaNiwa. It is currently tied up 1-1 right now. It is still anybody's match in this series as NaNiwa was able to take Game 1 after Zenio just really didn't quite break NaNiwa's Forge Fast Expand. But in Game 2, Zenio went for quite an aggressive mid-game push with a huge variety of units, and I was actually ridiculously impressed with how much variety Zenio used. He used early Ling Hydra, then slowly started to add in Roaches, and then when he saw Colossi, he added in Corruptors into the mix till he just had this big kind of Zerg death ball. I don't know what else to call it. He was probably one of the first players I've ever seen so effectively utilize the versatility of the Zerg race. The fact that we can have almost all the units available to us by just having one quote-unquote production structure. We can just have one tech structure go up and we can produce as many of that particular unit as we want. So that means there's a lot of flexibility left open to you, but a lot of times you don't see Zergs making use of that. There is a little bit of a danger in going for in fully utilizing that flexibility because, of course, the more variety of tech you go for, the weaker your specific individual types of tech are going to be. For example, if you have a Zerg player who's going just pure Roaches, going up against another Zerg player who goes Roaches and Hydralisks, then those Roaches, because he doesn't have to get up the Hydralisk Den, then he will technically have slightly better, stronger Roaches than his opponent. Now there is, yes, in that specific argument of Roaches and Hydralisks, you can also argue that Hydralisks have higher DPS and all that business, but I'm just saying as an example, the more variety of things you go for, if you say in a game, oh, I'm going to go for Roaches and Hydralisks and Corruptors and Mutalisks and Ultralisks, well, each of those individual things are now going to be a whole lot weaker because you're now spending a lot of money and going to a huge variety of things. I think that's way better. That's a way better example of explaining that. So, looks like Zenio now just going to be taking his own expansion here after going for that spawning pool and gas. NaNiwa did go for the pylon block here at the natural, and once again, NaNiwa just going to be going for the Forge Fast Expand. As I said in Game 1, this is something that I think NaNiwa almost exclusively does. I don't think he ever does not Forge Fast Expand against Zerg. I think this is strictly the way he plays against Zerg. And as we can see from Game 1, he does it well, even under immense pressure with that huge Roach all-in, was able to hold it off quite well. And here on Tal'Darim Altar, this is a pretty safe map to do it on. It's a little bit wider of a choke than it is on Shakuris Plateau, but the fact that you have this low ground here, you can put cannons up on the high ground, makes it a little bit easier to defend, and you do have a choke there that does help a lot in defending any kind of early aggression. Zenio is being very careful right now to take the Xel'Naga Watchtowers. Absolutely love that. You want to be doing that as early as possible, and he's now going to be moving an Overlord straight into his opponent's base. This is something that not enough Zerg players do. If you think about it, when you're a Zerg player, if your opponent Forge Fast expands, you can get an Overlord into his base for a ridiculously long time. Look at this. The gateway is up. Cybernetics Core still not up yet, and then even if he's going to want to take out that Overlord, he still has to build a Stalker, which is going to take another 40 seconds on top of that. So we're not even going to see a Stalker till like the 7-minute mark. You could have an Overlord straight in the middle of your opponent's base and see everything up until about the 7-minute mark. Not bad, huh? But Zenio is actually, interestingly enough, taking a bit of an advantage of this tiny, tiny little high ground patch here. By having that Overlord there, NaNiwa actually cannot see that Overlord, even if he's got units standing right under it, just because he doesn't have vision up onto that little tiny high ground there. So I actually really, really like that little exploit there from Zenio. In the meantime, he's going to be able to scout quite a bit of things. He's going to be able to see the probe count here fairly easily. He's also going to know exactly when NaNiwa takes his gases, which can be very, very critical. Xenio right now just getting his natural pretty well up and saturated. He does like to produce a number of lings. This is something that's very interesting and I think kind of unique to Xenio's play. I don't see a lot of players do this. I see a lot of players, they'll just go shunk and put all of their larvae into drones and then go shunk and then put all their larvae into zerglings, and they'll kind of switch back and forth, but Xenio's kind of doing drones, zerglings. Drones, zerglings, drones, zerglings, and he kind of just fits in a few zerglings here and there all over the place, and I don't know, actually manages to get up a decent little force of zerglings, able to maintain map control. And as you can see there, NaNiwa did move out with those 2 zealots, just like on Shakuris Plateau, just going to be scouting around, checking for bases, trying to see if he can't do any damage and force some extra lings out of his opponent. But Xenio, I think he just likes to build these lings regardless of whether he sees those zealots or not, because now, of course, he does have that map control, and this small number of lings allows him to keep map control for quite a while, especially against a Forge Fast expand, since NaNiwa is not really going to have any force that is going to be able to contest this group of zerglings out in the open here for a little while. Now we do see a Stargate did come up here for NaNiwa, and it looks like he did produce 1 Void Ray out of it. We do see a Phoenix now being produced here. We do have 3 gateways currently up right now, and we do see a Twilight Council now being thrown down here for NaNiwa. So what does he have planned? This is going to be very, very interesting. The fact that he's going to be very, very light on gateway units right now is going to be very, very interesting to see how he uses these units to do any kind of damage at all. As we can see, the Phoenix is now out on the field, moving across very quickly, but Xenio once again going for these very, very fast Hydralisks. Lair Tech is up. The Hydralisk range upgrade is not quite done yet, but they are going to be focusing down that 1 Void Ray, taking quite a bit of damage, but he does manage to escape over this little high ground here, but he's coming back out again. Needs to be very careful because even only 4 Hydralisks can take out this Void Ray quite quickly here. Looks like these are going to be getting a good surround on these Zealots here, and oh yes, he does manage to get that Void Ray. Going to be a big loss there for NaNiwa. Definitely not something you want to lose this early, and now NaNiwa being forced to go on the defensive, warping in as many sentries as he can. He's going to need those force fields because there are a lot of lings and a lot of Hydralisks now moving across the field. Now what did we just see get thrown down here by NaNiwa? But a Dark Shrine now coming down, as well as more gateways coming down for NaNiwa, as well as a robotics facility. But these Hydralisks are starting to move up, and this is a small number of Hydralisks, but they're actually doing quite a bit of damage right now as Xenio continues to get more and more lings out right now. Going to be focusing down that Cybernetics core, and that could actually be a big loss here for NaNiwa, and NaNiwa not feeling like he can defend it. He is already going to be throwing down another Cybernetics core to replace it, just because he is not feeling good about being able to hold off these Hydras from taking out this Cybernetics core. We do see that there are 3 cannons down right now for NaNiwa, but Xenio in a pretty commanding position right now, as he is going to be taking down that Cybernetics core, moving in with a ton of lings, but nice force fields going down from NaNiwa. Doesn't quite trap down all the lings, but notice Xenio is going to be expanding behind this, going to be taking a very fast third, and I like this choice of third right now because his opponent went for air. The fact that his opponent went for this really, really early Stargate and could be getting up some Void Rays right now would mean that those Void Rays could just come straight down here and harass the space rather easily. But this base right here, imagine if you were in NaNiwa's position. Imagine trying to attack this base versus trying to attack this base. This base, way, way hard to attack. Why? Because your units need to move way out to the middle of the map before they can actually get to that base, and then they leave your entire natural expansion wide open. So it's really, really difficult to attack and assault that base. And as we can see, Xenio even follows up this tech once again, showing his variety in tech that he can go for, getting up these Mutalisks very, very fast the entire time he was pressuring there. Now he's getting up Mutalisks with flyer attacks, going to be transitioning into more of a Ling Muta composition here, as lots and lots of Mutas are now getting on the field, and he's going to be getting very well established on this third base. And I like the pacing that Xenio is actually getting his bases at. Notice he's not rushing to 3 bases. He's getting small numbers of economy up very quickly, trying to do what he can. We do have a Warp Prism that is moving across the map. Got to keep that in mind. Looks like Xenio just did get into the base of NaNiwa. Going to be focusing down that Dark Shrine, and that is going to be a little bit difficult here. And look at that. The instant he sees the Dark Shrine, pulls back his Lings, throws down the Overseer, and where did that Warp Prism go? Ah, there it is. Warp Prism still in position here, not doing anything with it quite yet, still waiting for maybe more upgrades, maybe his Blink upgrade to be complete. We do see Blink is on the way. We do see Colossi now up as well. we do see the first Colossi now coming up. Extended Thermal Lance is now on the way. Blink being researched, about a little more than halfway done, as the Mutalisk count for Zenio is starting to get rather high, continuing to produce lots and lots of Mutalisks back home. We see macro hatches being added on now just because Mutalisk's going to be spending a lot of his gas, so he's going to need to be pumping all those minerals into throwaway units like Zerglings, and so if he's going to really be producing lots and lots of Zerglings, he's going to need the macro hatch to really be able to deal with it. Oh, we do have a warp in of Zealots in the back of the main, but that did get cleaned up rather quickly, as Zenio did have units in position when he saw that Dark Shrine going down, and now these Mutalisks are going to find this Warp Prism, and they are going to take that right down. Zenio now going to be taking another base. Once again, I really like this choice of expansion here from Zenio. On the minimap, you can see that he's kind of expanding in this direction. He's expanding away from his opponent, not towards his opponent, because he wants to take advantage of the fact that Zerg units tend to be more mobile than Protoss units. So the fact that he's expanding farther and farther away means that he can get his units to defend there really fast, but for NaNiwa to have to move up to attack those bases, he's going to really have to commit to it with his slow army and leave his own base open to big counterattacks. As we can see, these Hydralisks still continuing to be really useful here for Zenio as he's continuing to pressure the front of NaNiwa's base. NaNiwa does have a good number of gateway units that are growing. 2 Colossi are currently up on the field as well, but notice he has now cut Colossi production since he has seen now that his opponent went for this Ling Yuta composition, and we can see that, look at that, as soon as NaNiwa starts to move out, Zenio just going to be moving right around the back, trying to pick off workers everywhere he can. NaNiwa did add some cannons into the mix here, but now Zenio sees that no cannons were back here at all to defend these pylons, and is just going to be picking off a few of those pylons as NaNiwa starts to move out and becomes supply blocked because of it. Oh no, Zenio, a little bit of miscontrol there as he moves all of his Mutalisks right over that really big army of Stalkers. Notice these Stalkers are currently 1-0 in upgrades, soon to be 2-0 in upgrades, as +2 ground weapons is almost complete. These Mutalisks are currently +1 in attack upgrades right now. We do see +2 is on the way. We see the Baneling Nest has now been thrown down here for Zenio. +1 melee attack also now on the way. Baneling speed coming down very, very shortly here. And look at NaNiwa. NaNiwa just hasn't been able to take a third base just because of these Mutalisks. These Mutalisks have come out at quite a nice timing. And that early push did so much damage at the front, it really set NaNiwa's build back. And the fact that he followed up with these Mutalisks means that he is now just going to be moving around, denying expansions left and right. And NaNiwa looks like he's just going to wait until he maxes at 200 out of 200, and then just try to go for some kind of big push before he tries to take any third base of his own. Notice Zenio does have this Overlord in position to scout this third, but it looks like NaNiwa just going to be moving in once again, trying to focus down the Cybernetics core, but these Stalkers are going to be taking down those Mutalisks really, really fast, and need to be very, very careful with those. Doesn't want to lose too many of these Mutalisks, because the second he loses these Mutalisks is the second he loses map control. And so now it looks like, map control as well as his ability to deny expansions from his opponent. NaNiwa now continuing to just warp in more units all over the place, most likely just going to be going for a big push here. I can't see that he's going to be keeping this up, and actually he built a second Cybernetics core down there once he saw this one start to get focused down. That's not going to be a good thing for NaNiwa at all, but NaNiwa is now moving out with a large number of Stalkers. He's about to move into the natural of LiquidZenio, going to be doing so much damage right now, and I don't think Zenio has quite the composition he needs to be able to deal with this right now. He does have some Banelings, but mostly Zerglings and Mutalisks right now, not the best composition against this kind of army, so he's just going to be going for a big counterattack here at the natural expansion. Zerglings just moving right on past this probe right now, moving through everything and anything that they can. Mutalisk getting into the main, but NaNiwa doing quite a bit of damage in the main of Zenio right now as these Stalkers continue to move forward, and they are going to start to be picking off tech all over the place right now. Looks like they are now focusing down the Queens. The Spire is now going down. The Spire is down. Hydralisk Den going to be going down here very shortly, as NaNiwa is now going to be breaking off a part of his army to go back, as Zenio is continuing to do more damage as the forces that NaNiwa were warping in are just not quite enough to be able to deal with these forces, and it looks like those Stalkers are going to go down. Nice blink back there by NaNiwa, but these forces are still dealing a lot of damage. There are some Hydralisks continuing to do damage at the front. That is the one theme of this game, is that Hydralisks continue to just do damage at the front of the base, going to be taking down those warp gates, and NaNiwa now pulling back with a lot of his army to have to defend this because he really has no other base. He's losing almost all of his workers right now. 54 workers killed so far for Zenio. NaNiwa is down to just one probe, and there it is. That one probe is the only probe that remains, but the Stalkers did now finally make it back. They are 2-0 in upgrades, but so are these Mutalisks, and no, these Mutalisks need to be very careful as the Stalkers did manage to catch these Mutalisks off guard. And I don't know about this. NaNiwa chose to take down all the tech structures, or a lot of the tech structures here from Zenio, but Zenio is just going to be rebuilding them rather quickly here as he continues to keep his opponent on the defensive with more and more Lings and Mutalisks. And oh my goodness, NaNiwa now going to be going to look for bases, but Zenio has this base up and running. He's got this base up and running, as well as spawning pool recreated up there, Spire being recreated up there. That is all Zenio needs right now to continue to get up more and more Lings and more Mutalisks. And as we can see, he's continuing to be very aggressive, making NaNiwa really sketchy about moving out. As we can see, NaNiwa moving around the map with his army, but he's really scared to move out because he knows that this is really his only base. He has no mining going on right here, no mining here at all because he's got no base there at all. He's got one probe, and look, he did finally find his probe there, but there's not a whole lot he can do right now as all the Lings and Mutalisks now move in, going to be focusing down that Colossus. Once that Colossus goes down, these Lings are going to be free to do lots and lots of damage to these Stalkers, and as we can see, Zenio is going to be pushing all these Blink Stalkers into the corner as NaNiwa tries to blink some of them down here, but the Mutalisk count is just a little bit too high. They are 2-0 in upgrades, and NaNiwa's army is still split up out here as NaNiwa is trying to split off this Colossus to come and deal some damage to these bases, but this base is just getting cleaned up so fast here by Zenio as he's now moving into the main, going to start to focus down all the production structures of NaNiwa, and a lot of units, or a lot of production structures, going to be lost here as NaNiwa pulls back all his Stalkers to try to deal with this, but Zenio is pretty much back into full production right now as he's producing lots and lots of Mutalisks. The Colossus is now here at the base of Zenio, but I don't even think Zenio is going to be too bothered by that as he is doing so much damage back home, and NaNiwa is going to GG out of Game 3, meaning Zenio is now up 2-1 in this best of 5. If he's able to take Game 4, he's going to be taking the series. Will he be able to do it, or will NaNiwa be tying it up in Game 4? Stick around for Game 4 of NaNiwa versus LiquidZenio from IEM Kiev.